Okay, so let's continue with Pierre Bourdieu. Um, so I was talking about ideology last time, which is a kind of big philosophy of life that people don't even realize is a philosophy. It's just kind of there. There's all kinds of areas. Um, Ideology, like there's a simple ideology thing where people just feel like women are weaker than men. It's the kind of people go, well, that's just how life is. Well, no, that's an idea your culture came up with, and you were born into it, and then you started talking like that. But did you ever stop to wonder if it's actually true? Um, so it's things like that. And ideology tends to be it's usually pretty damaging. It's usually not, ideology is usually not a good thing. Because ideology is almost always bad, because it's something that you haven't thought of. It's something you accepted without thinking about, because you just were taught, well, this is how life is. Men are like this, and women, on the other hand, are like that. And every society needs rich people, and so it's that kind of thing. It's a democracy is the natural organization of whatever. Like, think about when people had kings. You'd be like, well, could we get rid of the king and do a different system? And they'd be like, what? Like, there's what else? It's always been kings. That's life. But then, of course, it changed. Um, and then, right, people right now are just like, capitalism is the worst. But too bad there's no other options. There are other ways to organize a society. Um, but ideology kind of limits your options, because it's something. It's a belief system that you never agreed to. You just got kind of born into it, and it was always there. And when something is always there, it starts to feel normal. Like growing up with an abusive father can feel like, well, that's just what fathers are like. No, it's not. That's just that one dude who sucks. It doesn't have to be like that. And so ideology is tricky. So Pierre Bourdieu was talking about the ideology of charisma. He says that at the beginning. We don't need to spend a ton of time on that phrase. In fact, one of the things I think ideology of charisma really has to do with is personalities. That we tend to see um, when we focus things on individual charisma has to do with individual personality. And so Pierre Bourdieu, in the first sentence of his piece, says, or the first sentence of the thing I cut out for you. You guys know that all of the 2 pages I give you come from like books. You can get like a whole book by each person. We did 2 pages of. You can get multiple books by them. Um, so he says, whereas the ideology of charisma regards taste and legitimate culture as a gift of nature, scientific observation shows that cultural needs are the product of upbringing and education. Uh, by the way, Pierre Bourdieu. If you guys know, Pierre Bourdieu is really important because he's one of the sort of key figures in sociology. He's a very, very important sociologist. Um, Sociology is not an area that I'm very interested in because sociology tends to say is interested in the movement of large numbers of people at the society level. I tend to be interested in individuals like Shakespeare, but sociologists are interested in American culture or say New York City culture. I have a hard time wrapping my brain around big things like that. So ideology. Um, so let's take a look. So he says, whereas the ideology of charisma. So you're think about like individuals. Whereas sort of the way individuals, and I often feel like they see taste in legitimate culture as a gift of nature, meaning it's natural. It's just natural. That's just how it is. And this is he says that the ideology of charisma regards taste and legitimate culture as a gift in nature, meaning sort of when you think in terms of individual personalities, you tend to see taste, meaning like what kind of art do you like, what kind of art do you not like. You tend to see it as a gift of nature. It's just natural. Why do you like? I just like what I like. I just like what I like. It's just natural. Some people like chocolate ice cream. Some people like vanilla ice cream. I'm a person who likes vanilla ice cream, and it's just that's just nature. I'm just natural. I was just born that way. Remember, nature means reality. Or even in this case, you could say gift of Mother Nature. People are born. Most people who focus on the ideology of charisma, that is sort of individual personalities, tend to see art that they like and don't like. They tend to see it in terms of, well, I was just born that way. I like what I like, and some people they like techno music, and some people they like, symphony music, and it's just taste. You just you like what you like, whatever. That's how most people view it. Honestly, half the time, even I tend to fall back. I try to be a smart person, but honestly, I mean, I'll be guilty of being like, nah, you like what you like, whatever. But Pierre Bourdieu thinks there's more to it than that. He thinks it's more complicated. If you notice one of the themes of this class has been there are things that you think, and then there's a philosopher who comes around and he goes, but I think it's actually more complicated than that. And Pierre Bourdieu is one of those guys who thinks it's more complicated than that. So Pierre Bourdieu, he's most people. I know I'm spending a lot of time on this first sentence, but it's really crucial. Whereas the ideology of charisma regards taste and legitimate culture as a gift of nature. In other words, people focusing on personalities tend to regard the art you like and dislike as just, it's natural. You're just born with it. He says scientific observation, let's go to the text. He says scientific observation shows that cultural needs are the product of upbringing and education. So he says it's not just that you're born liking this and disliking that. He says the things that you like and dislike in art are the result of upbringing and education. One of the things he's thinking of here is that if you tell him when you were born, where you were born, you tell him a little bit about your religious affiliation, your ethnicity. You tell him how much money you make a year. You tell him how much money your parents make a year. You tell him what neighborhood you're in. If you were to fill out a little quick, it wouldn't have to be a long survey, by the way. If you just filled out like a quick survey for him about race, religion, ethnicity, geography, parents, their parents' background, he says that's going to tell him what kind of art you're going to like and what kind of art you're not going to like. That's disturbing. I like what's good and I dislike what's bad. And he says, no, 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 no. The cultural group that you are a member of, meaning gender, race, religion, ethnicity, geography, time period, determines what you like and don't like. I don't like to think like that. I feel like it's coming from me. I like what I like. People didn't program me to like what I like. I like whatever I got stuff that I think is cool. And it comes from me because I'm a personality. But Pierre Bourdieu doesn't get. See, most art people tend to care about personalities, right? The whole thing with Wordsworth was like the artist's personality is incredibly important, right? The artwork is a result of personality. Pierre Bourdieu doesn't give a shit about personality. Pierre Bourdieu cares about social groups, your religion, your ethnicity, your geography, your gender, your whatever. He cares about those groups, and he says that the art that you like is determined by those groups. And he says in the continuation of the first sentence, he says surveys establish that all cultural practices, that's museum visits, concert going, reading, you could add anything you like here, video games, going to the movies, watching TV shows. Cultural practices and preferences in literature, painting, or music are closely linked to educational level, measured by qualifications or length of schooling, and secondarily to social origin. So the art that you like is a product of how much education you got. And also your social origins. Where were you born? What groups were you born into? Meaning what religions, what gender, what what your parents do for a living, how much money they made. That is so depressing. It's such a depressing thought, but he is going to push this real hard, and it's going to become real disturbing real quickly. What you like is determined by the groups you are a member of. That's the beginning of this, and this is going to get more complicated, so don't attach onto that super hard. I'm gonna change that a little bit as we go, but for right now, his claim is that it's your education level and your social origins that determine what you like and dislike. He continues on, he says, the relative weight of home background and formal education, the effectiveness and duration of which are closely dependent on social origin, varies according to the extent to which different cultural practices are recognized and taught by the educational system, and the influence of social origin is strongest, other things being equal, in extracurricular and avant-garde culture. So he says sometimes the education part matters more, and sometimes the social group, your social origins matter more. But that tells you what you like and dislike. Most people think what they like and dislike is just, whatever you like, what you like. He says there are reasons for it. And he says the reasons have nothing to do with you and nothing to do with your personality. And they have everything to do with social groups, which includes the group that you were educated with, includes your educational level, but also the amount of money your parents had and your ethnicity and your gender and all these other things. We'll pick it up in the next video, but this gets real interesting and real complicated really quickly, so we will continue.